daughter. That was his daughter. The daughter in the movie, that's Aerosmith. That's the lead singer's daughter, Liv Tyler. She's real pretty. She was in Lord of the Rings too. This is it right here. It came out when I was going to skate ring. They always play this at couple skate. Well, they're not heavy metal. They're rock. So no, I know we were talking about heavy metal, but this is like, well, it hadn't came up with a chorus yet. Angel, that's the chorus. Hey, Angel. See, I knew you would. Come and save me tonight. Air, Aerosmith, Armageddon. I can't remember what songs they played in Armageddon. Oh, I don't want to miss it. Yeah, just I don't want to miss a thing, and I don't want to miss a thing. Oh, oh, oh! It's even got the movie. Hey, come here. It shows the movie. This is his daughter. She's got big lips just like him.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I remember her.
And this is when they played this song.
And what's his name?
Yeah,
Was
see the
there?
animal crackers. See, yeah, he was going to. I think he said, "I'm going to undiscovered territory" or something. He said something funny. I can't remember. Yeah, she was in. Yeah. Y'all see all these videos of these airstrikes that we're doing on the Houthis, terrorist group in Yemen. See, we got two things going on. We're watching Iran and all Hamas and all that, but we got 1%. We got our warthogs that that's the airplane that shoots at to take out the Yemen vehicles because it has depleted uranium rounds, half pound in weight each round, 4,000. Have you ever seen that A-10 Warthog plane? Has a turning gun on the front. And it usually has a shark. It shoots 4,000 rounds a minute, Dad. Depleted uranium rounds, so when it hits, it blows up each round. It weighs a half a pound. 4,000 rounds of half a pound ammo. And then when it hits, it blows up. It punches a hole in everything. So it causes there. It's got depleted uranium. You know what that is? That's what they basically. Yeah, basically what they did. You know those things, those fuel rods that are radioactive at the nuclear plant. Basically, they used that.
Masters of honor, we agree to the right of proving. The Cabal sends forth its champion.
The challenge is met. Our blood flows together. May it lead to unity.
back from the hunt, I see.
Time to fight, Guardian. What do you need?
I am at your service.
Welcome back. All done, all done.
Oh, I've had my thing muted. And I burped in the mic, and I was like, sorry, but I had it muted. So I hate when I mute this thing. I forget, man. I feel so stupid when I talk to myself. Come on, let me be a brig. I just need to be a brig one more time to be. I like the tanks actually better now that I know I have a speed burst, but the brigs, I need to just be a brig twice. So apparently you don't get to be a brig as often as tank. They know. I think that's set up. Yes. So I think it's actually set up that way because one of the dailies is be a brig twice. There's no be a tank twice because this is only the second time out of 7 games now, I think. So yeah. Yes. I don't care, bro. I just want that coin. One daily done. Whoa. What is that? Suck. Ah! So that, okay, that R1 must be like a special burst, maybe. Let's see. Dude, how did that guy get so much recharge that fast? He was hit. So lucky, dude. Look at that. Haha.
Only 5 minutes left.
butthole. That's still. No! Oh, did I get it? Gosh, man. The guy was chasing me. He ain't gonna steal my coin that time. Ah, I can't. Psh, of course. Those tanks are tough, man. They're just stronger. Oh my gosh. Why would I want to I guess you re-roll your dailies when you finish them, so you can keep grinding. Just don't see people grinding this, man. It's fun, but it's not like, oh, cool. Reroll a completed daily challenge with a reroll chip. I have 14 of. Oh my gosh, look how expensive this crap is. Are you freaking kidding me? Dude, they're gonna have to change that. They're gonna have to change that. They're gonna have to. Reroll. I'm already at 5. Wow. Let's see what little Shaxy Poo. He's probably. Never mind. I was about to say something. Lord Shaxy Poo. Shaxy Poo. Exercise. Y'all want to do some shit. Oh yeah, copyright. My bad. I was just kidding. Just joking, YouTube. Yeah, I want to fall asleep cause I miss you, babe, and I don't want to miss a thing. 100 million BC. That makes absolutely no sense. Before BC is before Christ. Okay, there is no 1 million years. This world is 6,000 years old. If you think otherwise, you're ignorant and you just don't know. Okay, it's just how it is. If you look at real science and not the evolution lying crap, oh, unsolved mysteries. All right, what's this one about? Episode.
This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you're about to see is not a news broadcast.
Died in unsolved mystery. Story of movie by Sharon Davis. Died in a life.
What are you talking about? Yeah, the music is creepy, but these kids nowadays, they watch satanic crap like The Conjuring and The Exorcist remake and Ouija board movie. These kids nowadays, they like Satanism and evil just as much as anything else. That's why this world is coming to an end. Go read the New Testament and the Bible. I'm a military veteran, 48 years old.
"50 years later.
It's good to see you alive, Guardian. You're alive, Guardian. Fight like it.
I've got to finish this catalyst, dude. This is the only one I haven't done because I got to get headshots and I don't play Crucible a lot. So
According to Dave, Shannon was not an experienced rider. She lost control and fell off the horse, striking her head violently on the ground.
I'm kind of talking to myself. Well, I'm not talking to myself. I'm watching Unsolved Mysteries. I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember that, but there was like
all
The
these
Moors are
murder
afraid that their sons
mysteries,
will
ghost
leave
stuff,
out the way.
and it was done by Robert Stack, the actor, and it had the creepy music.
Shannon was pronounced dead.
Like, this is the music to Unsolved Mysteries. Y'all probably recognize it.
In 19, Shannon's husband had purchased secret insurance policies totaling a car crash. 15.
Oh.
Housewife Dottie. Our four mysteries tonight are connected by common thread. Unexplained circumstances.
I remember the music was so creepy as a kid watching this.
Part of each.
What year was this?
These mysteries
1987.
I
I was 10 years old. Yeah, that's why it was creepy. They recreated events. It was an awesome show, man. It was on for a long time. You can watch the episodes. I'm watching the season 1 on, oh wow, season 1. Here's the music. Here it goes. Okay. All right. I'm going to mute so y'all don't have to hear this.
Flash. Best your opponents and survive. Victory is a matter of will. You have my respect, Hunter. 5 minutes left. Shut the enemy down. They've almost won. Shut the enemy down. Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent. Tell them to line up faster. Three minutes. You're defeated. Fight again. Persistence is key. Defeat is not surrender, Guardian.
It's outside. That one full of water.
Oh,
Full of it. His wife, missing.
there was 12 seasons, guys. Wow, I didn't realize it was.
April 29th, 1986, 10:40 a.m. Farmer in rural Oklahoma notices an ominous plume of smoke rising from a nearby road.
Elvis's. This was about Elvis's last night.
He was a once Luther King, truly an American icon. But for 20 years, the
Did
tales
you know
about
Elvis
him
was not reading the
cult in
Bible?
his
He was actually reading a New
now a
Age,
trusted
kind of a
member of
satanic
Elvis Presley's inner circle
type
despite
witchcraft type
standing
Bible.
company
like book, like his friends came out about it because like there's so many Christians that listen to his music. Like my dad, he won't listen to it. He grew up with Elvis so much. He like he's one of those people like my dad's a Christian. He's a deacon and I mean usher in a church, and he truly is a Christian. He believes in Jesus Christ as a Savior. That what makes you a Christian. But you know, like liking Elvis doesn't take away your Christianity. Just most like me, I can't listen to Elvis. He's one thing that he started the whole rebellious attitude in kids. He did. Like that's the Beatles. That's why people were burning Beatles albums because the Beatles claimed to be bigger than Jesus, and so people back then they burnt their album. It was awesome. Nowadays you got people like Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor. Can you imagine Marilyn Manson showed up on stage back then? But that's what I'm saying. All these people like Elvis, they paved the way for all this what I call like Led Zeppelin completely demonic. Their Stairway to Heaven, written one night, he said he was tuned into like a demon spirit, or he called it spirit, but it was demonic. And Pied Piper is somebody that look at that man.
He once reigned supreme as the world's greatest entertainer. But on August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley's remarkable life came to a shocking end. At first, it was said he died of a heart attack. Later reports suggested a massive drug overdose.
No, he had like I don't know how many pounds of crap in his body because he died on the toilet because no, this is true. He died on the toilet because he was basically constipated. Because if you take pain medicine will make you constipated. Like I had a blockage one time. I had to go to I had to have a colonoscopy because I had a blockage. Because like certain medicine you can't use the bathroom. It makes your stool hard. I know it's weird, but hey, I'm 48. That stuff doesn't bear. It's not. That's not weird to talk about stuff like that for me. But I mean, that's what happened. I mean,
Not surprisingly, most people refuse to believe that Elvis Presley died by his own hand. However, David Stanley's eyewitness account, along with the circumstantial evidence, is compelling and warrants a closer look. Tonight we'll hear both sides of this ongoing controversy. Learn the bizarre and intriguing details of Elvis's final days. Those who live in this.
are we playing the same game?
Times a day on
I backed out. So
nearly a dozen different prescription drugs, including Demerol and Second.
Jeez, Demerol, very strong.
According to Insight, this dangerous cycle of drug use had its beginnings in 1958. Elvis was drafted into the army and sent overseas.
I went to Germany with him after I got out of the Marine Corps.
Marty West was a close friend of Elvis Presley's from junior high school. He was a key figure in the biographical film Elvis, All the King's Men.
He was on guard duty on the Russian front, and if you went to sleep, and got caught asleep, you're in trouble. So this sergeant said, wow, man, I started feeling good, and that's how it began.
That's how it always begins.
Army history. Elvis starred in a long series of inconsequential but highly profitable movies.
Elvis's greatest desire was to be a serious dramatic actor, and this was denied him because his management felt that they wouldn't make as much money if they put him in a dramatic role. They wanted him to be...
How am I getting this many kills and we're losing? Come on, guys, pull your weight, bro.
The unsatisfying movie, overwhelmed by the crushing demands of his family, Elvis retreated into the shadow world at the gates of his Memphis mansion, Graceland.
Elvis sort of...
These guys aren't even that good, dude.
Surrounded himself with paid friends for the most part called the Memphis Mafia. And Graceland more or less became a tomb for him, or a cave to go hide from life. The windows were sealed, the outside did not enter. So his day-to-day touch with reality had really been removed.
hardest thing for Elvis was being Elvis. People say, what do you think the most difficult part of Elvis Presley's life was? Being Elvis Presley, looking out a window, seeing 10,000 people walking out on the stage and seeing 22,000 flashbulbs going off, thinking you are a king.
Ego, vanity. That's why it's so bad, man. I would never want to be an actor or anything like that.
Elvis is a friend. But at the end of a celebrated 6-year marriage with Priscilla, the divorce punctured the protected bond while Elvis has carefully maintained it.
When she did leave him, it wasn't so much that his heart was broken, that the love of his life was gone. It was more because he was Elvis, and Elvis always got his way. This time he didn't.
He would get himself in a rage. You know, he would get himself so worked up over it that he'd begin to take the medications to deal with the depression of the rage. And then suddenly some shows would start to be canceled.
By the mid-1970s, insiders say that Elvis's dependency on drugs...
Dude, we should be tearing these guys up, man. Seriously, like, these guys are not good. These guys are not good at all. I wish I had a shotgun. I'd gun it.
They cater to the king's every need.
We were the ones who were with Elvis all the time. Elvis needs something to eat. Elvis needs to be woken up at a certain time. Elvis needs his medication.
Dangerous and destructive routine medications
guys,
on a steady schedule to Elvis and his assistants.
This is ridiculous. This is a joke, dude.
Each attack contain numerous medications of pill or syringe form. None Ambute, Demo, Follow, and Second.
Wait, Lee.
The first attack is usually delivered between 2 and 3 a.m.
After he'd take his attack, attack 1, he would have a couple of cheeseburgers, potatoes. The attack 1 effect would get him groggy and sleepy. We would have to watch us, because sometimes he'd be eating and just fall asleep with his food in his mouth, oftentimes choking on his own food.
After sleeping for a few hours, Elvis would awaken for attack 2.
That would last for several hours. Now you're in the morning hours. You know, you're looking at 10 or 11. Then it'd be attack 3, which was the same contents of attack 1 and 2. So you're talking, by the time you got done, let's just call it 11 sleep. Would say, well, golly, that's 6 months worth. That was a nightly dose.
I can't wait to see what you do with that. 3 minutes.
I talked to him about drugs. Tim said, you don't need this stuff. He said, uh-uh. You're wrong. I do need it. I looked at him and said, you serious? You really need this stuff? He said, right, I need it. And that's when I threw my hands up and said, I've done all I can do. And I was gone shortly thereafter.
David Stanley says he also tried to save Elvis from himself. King didn't welcome these intrusions of reality.
I knew Elvis was shot, but I knew right then he had got a serious drug problem.
Elvis's depression deepened in the weeks prior to his death. Despite the millions he'd made, he was short of money. His manager booked another tour, which Elvis was playing. He was visibly overweight, poor health, fighting humiliation. Rock and roll's greatest sex.
Told y'all I used to be really good at Destiny. I mean, PvP. Told y'all.
That's how you should be on a battle.
Perhaps Elvis was most despondent about a book some former employees, including Red West, were about to publish.
Look at that, bro.
The book chronicled their years in the king's inner circle. Their revelations threatened to expose a secret Elvis, one his adoring fans knew nothing about.
Really? Nothing?
This would be the first time that the fans saw him overweight,
Son. No, you know what?
good, with the knowledge of what the book contained. God, they'll know. And he knew the whistle had been blown on his clean image, and he was terrified.
And you can just look at him and see the depression. You can see the God, I don't know if it's worth going on mentality. kind of dreading the tour one day. I don't want to go on a tour. Think this, they're going to think that. He was just really confused. The last days, he was really searching. He was digging into it. He was looking for the answer. He was looking for a way in. The last time I saw Elvis, he said goodbye to me. He was crying. I love you. He hugged me. I'll never, ever see you again. The next time you see me, it'll be in a higher place in a different plane.
The exact sequence of events is still a mystery. This much is known about Elvis's last will. It was suspiciously different in several ways. He ignored his usual late-night feast. He was given his 3 attack envelopes, 3 dozen pills and 9 syringes full of Demerol at their usual times.
9 syringes full of Demerol, 3 dozen pills.
Elvis's girlfriend, Ginger O, was the last person to see him alive. According to reports, around 9:30 a.m., Elvis got out of bed and went to the bathroom to read. That's where Elvis's body was found a few hours later. Paramedics were already there by the time David Stanley arrived.
I looked and saw Elvis in the fetal position and knew he was gone. First thing I said, "You son of a bitch." I knew right there and then at that time that Elvis said, "I am out of here."
David says he found all 3 attack envelopes and several Demerol syringes nearly empty. He believes Elvis took all 3 attacks simultaneously. Purpose and design. The official autopsy found that Elvis died of an irregular heartbeat due to severe cardiovascular disease.
I don't think there's any evidence that there was a tremendous amount of drug abuse or any misuse.
Dr. Kevin Meridian is a well-known clinical pharmacologist. He has studied the official coroner's toxicology report that was released to the public.
I know there's been a lot of theories and there's been a lot of conjecture. There's always debate. That kind of adds to the mystique of Elvis. But he didn't die. He died of some event, probably cardiac.
Good Lord. That'd kill an animal, kill a cow, that much medication. So when I talk to you about this, I am not looking for reasons to back up what I believe. I'm telling you what I know. The fact is, that much medication, Elvis knew that. Especially because he knew the physician's desk reference, because he was educated on drugs. He knew that they would take him. Only Elvis can tell you what he was thinking that last night. David Stanley can't tell you what he was thinking. I can't stand to tell you what he's thinking. Doctors can look at all the charts they want to look at, but it's not going to tell you what Elvis was thinking.
That's sad, man.
You know him like a book.
Nothing complicated here. Defend your allies and defeat your opponents. that fights together stays together. Good. Show your enemy what a real fight looks like. Five minutes remain. A strong start. Fight on. Keep it up. Victory is yours. Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent. Victory is all I ask. Good. Another battle won. On to the next fight.
I'm not watching stupid crap on Bigfoot. All those things like that, Bigfoot, UFOs, all that crap are fallen angel demons from the Bible. God literally talks about it, but once again, people won't read it.
But the dog was still out there being he was now campaigning under the ownership of George and June O'Neill.
Their parents on their 100-acre estate. Yet dental records confirmed the skull was Camille's.
Yeah, some days I don't really care. Let's see.
Tonight, Unsolved Mysteries.
When Monica Rizzo disappeared, an anonymous phone call led the police to her house. What investigators found buried in the backyard is beyond anything they ever expected. Is blood thicker than water? Not if you ask convicted felon Frederick Young. He's spending the rest of his life in prison for crimes he insists he did not commit. So who's the real culprit? According to Frederick, none other than his identical twin brother, Cedric. What would you do if someone sold you a house haunted by some very nasty ghosts? This family decided to take the former owners to court.
What? You can't take the owners to court for having a haunted house. Maybe the owners were the ones messing with Ouija boards. Like, they've proven the Amityville house. Have y'all seen Amityville Horror? It came from, it was back in the 80s and they remade it with Ryan Reynolds. And like that house, like as soon as the people moved out of it, it was there's been people living in it with no kind of craziness. It's not the house, guys. It's the people that live in it. They mess with Ouija boards and they mess with satanic things, and they don't think with things drawing demons. If you watch horror movies all the time, it's going to draw demons into around you. I mean, this is not a joke, guys. This is the problem that people don't understand, is that you're not messing with ghosts, and these are demons. And the more even stuff you do in your home, like if you mess with Ouija boards or even watch satanic movies and stuff, it'll draw them in. And if you're not saved, you can be possessed. If you're saved, then you have the Holy Spirit. Like I'm saved, I have the Holy Spirit that lives inside of me when I got saved by believing Jesus. So demons can't live inside of me. I can't be possessed. Now I can be oppressed. That's what the Bible talks about. You're oppressed. That means demons try to tempt me with bad thoughts, negative thinking, stuff like that. But they cannot enter inside of me and make me do evil things. Like a lot of these people, like all around the world that do evil things, like serial killers, all that kind of stuff. Those people are possessed by demons. There's a difference between being bad and being evil.
It sounded like a gruesome prank. The police in San Antonio, Texas wasted no time checking it out. They intended to question Monica Rizzo's husband, Leonard. That would have to wait. Just at the moment the detectives arrived, Rizzo was having some sort of a seizure.
Rizzo? Dad. How long's he been like this? I don't know. I was upstairs for a while.
Mr. Rizzo. At first, the detectives suspected a drug overdose. They were
Never received justice? Are you stupid? Everybody receives justice. When you die, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell. So believe me, everybody gets justice. That's why when people say God doesn't exist, those people are basically saying people like Hitler got away with everything. No, Hitler's in hell, right along with all these other murderers and people that don't believe in Jesus. If you believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior, you're saved. That's how you're saved. If you believe that He died on the cross for your sins. So before you start talking nonsense, how about do some research? How about read the Bible, the book that's read by billions of people, the book that's never been disproven whatsoever, that has over 300 prophecies that have came true to 100%. I'm a military veteran, and I'm telling you right now, Jesus is real and Satan is real. And people that do bad things and don't believe in Jesus, they go to hell. So yes, they have justice. God is the ultimate judge. Why do you think bad things happen to people on earth? Some of it is because when Adam and Eve sinned, a curse of sin came on the earth and people became evil. When God first made the earth in Genesis and the heavens, it was perfect. But He gave man and women free will and they sinned, and that's why we live in this sinful, evil world. But to sit there and say never got justice, you're insane. You don't know what you're talking about. Go read the Bible. I gotta find my earbuds. When I had a long sleeve shirt on. When I took my shirt off, my earbuds flew out my shirt. I don't know where they. There's one. Found one. Got it. That's a footrest I use. It's really good on Amazon. It's about $30. Really nice. Watch a documentary about the F-14 Tomcat Top Gun jet. When the wings go in and then come out, go up. Wow, whatever.
4, 1 to actually change the light bulb, and 3 to stand around and talk about how great the old light bulb used to be. I've got so many stories, you know, like I've got 9 lives. We came that close to getting killed, never knew it. It was bizarre. I turned around and kind of braced myself for the impact of the airplane as it was breaking apart and just engulfing the landing area. Okay, he put together a team to lead the very first strike of non-stealth aircraft into Baghdad. It was crazy. The element that I led the very first night of Operation Rapid Freedom, you all probably know that as shock and awe.
Shock and awe. I remember that when I was a kid, man. Operation Iraqi Freedom. I actually had that license plate on the front of my car.
So let's move backwards in time a little bit to, you know, one of the most iconic movies that come out, I think, aviation movies is Top Gun, and obviously there's a new one coming out now, and hopefully from the trailer I see it's got some awesome footage in it. I'm one of the few folks that had the opportunity to be in a Top Gun movie and attend the Top Gun course.
In the 1980s, the F-14 Tomcat exploded onto the silver screen and became Hollywood's favorite fighter. Fans around the world soon learned about those who flew it. Bigger-than-life stories seemed like they were right out of Hollywood. Tomcat would draw thousands of fans to air shows across the country.
My favorite thing about the Tomcat, I had great timing. I checked in, they had only the A models, and then our squadron, VF-24, was the first one to get the A+, so now I got to fly with the big GE motors, and then went over to be a RAG instructor right about the time the D was rolling out, and got to fly the F-14D, which was just an amazing airplane. Tons of power, big GE 110 engines, it was just an amazing airplane performance-wise.
Jet was a fun.
And the new D model had all the electronic displays up front. It was just it was a joy to fly. Of course, you know, we were young, getting the newest airplane in the fleet. It was really a pretty cool thing to be on. East. Of course, not that fly for the air show.
There were like 2 crews on each coast, so it was a pretty exclusive crew for one of the air show crews. So the West Coast, the F-124, our 2 crews handled everything west of the Mississippi, and that was a great show.
In the Tomcat demo, the new D model, it was just overpowered and it was a rocket. So part of the maneuver, and Brady Clark designed this whole air show. So he was an ex-Blue Angel, so it was really an amazing show in and of itself. One of the maneuvers, he came by at just under supersonic. I think Smut was yelling .99, and that was my cue that I better start pulling up. We didn't want a repeat of the 70s Miramar Air Show where they went over UTC. 0.9, 1, 2, 9, 5, not a blower. Hit it, 10. Good roll rate. 1, 2, 3, 4, So they oriented the show back east, and we started doing our high-speed climb and rolling all the way up, and we started having a fuel split. So we had to knock the air show off momentarily while we sorted out the fuel split, and then pick it back up kind of where we left off. We were up at altitude, so we had a couple of seconds where most of the crowd couldn't see it, and we sorted that out. Dove right back in. So, you know, here we were back in flying the air shows and doing the circuit around the country, and we got asked to come do an Aspen air show. Aspen. And we thought, wow, we've never done an air show in a field like Aspen. It's in the mountains, going to be very tight maneuvering. So we flew up there to do the first ever Aspen Air Show. D model Tomcat. Plenty of power for the high altitude. So Smut and I took off and started this air show. A lot of mountains around, so we were supposed to be, you know, somewhere between 300 and 500 feet for the air show. And of course, the better the crowd, the lower we got. And the problem in Aspen is that the terrain went up on both sides of the runway quite steeply. If you went off to the west side of it was pure burn. Off the left side, it went up about 300 feet, and then it leveled off in their houses. So there were some famous people in the audience.
We're in that 6G burner turn, and he's changing elevation of the aircraft. And you know, when you're a backseat guy, whether you're a student or instructor or a crew guy, you don't ever want to hear the pilot saying any dirty language. In fact, usually comes bad with the aircraft. So I hear, I'm like, what? He's like, look at the size of that, in the 6G turn, look at the size of that pool down there. I'm like, oh man, he was an amazing pilot. So
we were flying in this, 360 bend radius turn, and the houses were quite impressive. And I think we were probably 50 feet tops, 90-degree angle of bank. Well, the train went up. We were doing a level turn, and it was impressive.
Mingle and stuff. I don't think we met Golden and Kurt.
They left, but there was plenty of other nice people. I had a good time there. The air show was quite a fun tour. Every weekend, a different spot. Got to go on the road. And, of course, we were young and crazy and single, so the times were good. You really thought you were pretty cool.
We were pretty cool.
And you weren't cool, but you thought you were.
To position aircraft, and obviously when he got into the strike role, I still think it's the best strike fighter in the world. And of course, I'm biased to the Tomcat. I was never a big fan of that. But you really work together, get that crew coordination going. We all talked about, and once you had that, you could make things happen. You could anticipate the guy in the front and the back was doing, and you knew exactly what was going on. And going back to Top Gun, that was one of the great things. You've been flying with the same guy, you're just really tuned up. Flying every day and real challenging flight.
I'm Roger Box, and I checked out in the F-14, and to start this off, I'll tell you that I was the first commanding officer of Top Gun. I was not the originator, but I was the first commanding officer. I helped transition it against a lot of forces in the Navy because we were too successful, and it looked like we were having fun. And God knows, anytime you're having fun, you're doing something wrong by somebody. We were having fun, and we flew the little stripped-down A4s to simulate MiGs, and the program was very successful. One of the reasons that we became a command and I became a commanding officer was that Top Gun, as organized and ran by my predecessors and continued by myself, was a very successful program.
So, way back whenever I got selected to go to Top Gun, and it's a pretty good deal. First day, I don't know if you know Wizard McCabe. Wizard's the XO, and he goes, hey, by the way, before anybody leaves, we've got a writer that's going to do an article about the guy that's going through Top Gun, a crew. Who wants to do it? And after being a savvy guy, knowing that, hey, public affairs, you can't win, and sure can lose, everybody avoided eye contact. So finally, Wizard goes, all right, this is for California Magazine. This guy's name is Ehud Yan. He's going to write this thing. Israeli guy. So West Coast, you guys are doing it. Who's going to do it? Again, nobody volunteered. And then Wizard goes, hey, Spree calls you SoCal. How come? I said, well, I went to Corona Mar High School and UCLA. He goes, you guys are doing it. So we ended up doing this thing, talking to this guy every day. Comes out okay, and actually having the movie created over an article. And there's like 4 things that are real in the movie, as you know, and the rest is history.
Back in 1980, a long time ago, I was in the RAG, the Fleet Replacement Squadron in F-14. And I was one of a bunch of students that were kind of hung up in training. And they came out and interviewed a bunch of us because they wanted some real guys in the movie. We were students in the F-14 RAG. And I was the only one of the students that was tall, dark, and handsome. Okay? And so I was selected to be in the movie, which I thought was, pretty cool because I knew nothing about movies. I'm just, a Tomcat guy trying to, figure my way out and fly the airplane, blah, blah, blah. So I'm on the set. This is my job. I'm on the set for 6 weeks, and that is my job full-time all the time. What was very interesting was all the cast and crew wanted to kind of hang around with us after the set, after the shoot and all that good stuff, because they wanted to be just like us. Okay? I had 0 hours in the airplane at the time. I kind of knew how to put my flight suit on and kind of looked the part, but I didn't know much. But the actors and the actresses, they were really into us because we were real, we were genuine, we would do all this stuff. And the 4 of us students that were in the movie, we kind of would get together and kind of go, hey, we don't tell them, they won't know. We might be ace of the base and all that good stuff. So we walked around that set like we were somebody, like we were special, like we were, all this and that. But then we were invited to the premiere, and we sat down and watched the movie for the first time. It was the first time we'd seen the story. We walked out of the film like, wow, we somebody, because this was really cool. All the stuff that they shot in all these different, just different locations around San Diego, different scenes, none of them done at the same time. When it all came together, we were like, oh man, this is really cool. And what was very interesting was, that day back in 1985, which turned into an 86 release, I knew every time that movie came on for the next 30 years, because every time it was on TV, every time it was anywhere, people were knocking on my door, saw your movie last night. And I'm like, yeah, my movie. I'm in the back row looking with my shades on and just blending in. But it was pretty cool to be able to say that, hey, I was a part of that movie. That was really amazing. But 3 years later, I was offered the opportunity to attend the Top Gun class for real. And I'm telling you what I thought was the best 6 weeks of my career, while we were making the movie, because that was fun. That was cool. It was cool. But going through the class was intense. It was the best flying that I'd ever been a part of. All day long, all we did was think tactically, in the books, in the theory, in discussions, jump in the airplane and turn that theory into reality. Going through the class, I was like, wow, this is the science of fighter aviation. I mean, it really gets down into the nuts and bolts and some really cool stuff. And when I left the class, going back to the squadron, I felt like, man, now I really have something to offer all those around me because I know a lot more. you know, for the next 30 years, I got to share stories about one, being in the movie, and two, being in the class for real. And, you know, it was, you know, very rewarding.
Grumman had a history of providing combat-proven carrier fighters for the United States Navy, which they named after cats. Tomcat was the last of the great cats that spanned over 66 years protecting the fleet. There were only 6 naval aviators who had the distinct notoriety of flying all the Grumman cats during their naval
F9,
service.
dude, I never seen some of these jets. What? The F Tiger, F Badger, F what?
The last living aviator that holds that honor.
I did fly all of the Grumman.
Wow, this one guy flew all the different.
Every Navy fighter.
There was 5 different.
The F4F, up to the F-14.
He flew every F fighter.
In 71.
Wow.
Back at Patuxent River, Maryland, and my boss, Admiral Hike.
He's a World War II vet too. Vietnam. Wow. See, this is the people y'all need to be listening to instead of these stupid actors and people on YouTube. You need to get on YouTube and listen to these older men, that the greatest generation. That's what they're called, the men who went to World War II. Like my grandfather was in World War II in Normandy. Almost all of them, most of them were Christians because they knew they could die any second. And they had a saying they came out with: you never meet an atheist in a foxhole. That means if you were atheist, as soon as you got in that foxhole and you have rounds flying over your head and bombs and you could die at any second, you're going to find God most of the time. Of course, not always, but it was a lot of people got saved because they thought they were about to die.
So I paid attention to that. So that's how I got my 1.5 hours.
And so they came up with a saying that said, "There's no atheists in foxholes." I love it. Because when you're about to die and you're an atheist, you don't believe in anything. You believe your life is, you die, you're no more. That is the most. And even if that was, and it's not true. The whole point, like, what would be the point of all this if we just died? There's nothing. I mean, people just don't think, man. But that's the problem. Some people just don't know. Some people don't know anything about Jesus. All they know is what they see, all these fake, horrible preachers on TV asking for money, and all the Christians that claim to be Christians and they're really not. All the holy wars and all that stuff back then, those people weren't really Christians. They used the name. Just like the Pope, he's not a Christian. The Pope's going straight to hell. He's not a Christian. Not at all. He believes that he can add stuff to catechisms. He can add more stuff to the Bible. That's what the Catholic Church does, the Pope. He comes out with these rules called catechisms. There might be 7, there might be 10, I don't know. There's different numbers. But he literally, the Catholic Church says that those words that the Pope writes down, they call him the Vicar of Christ. That means that he speaks for God. There's nobody on earth that speaks for God. The Bible speaks for God. That's why the Catholic Church is so horrible. And if you're involved in the Catholic Church, it's not a Christian church. Now, you can be saved, but the stuff they preach is unbiblical. That's my point. If you believe in Jesus, you're saved. It's not about what religion you're in. But if you're why would you want to, if you're truly saved by Jesus Christ and you want to believe what God says, then why would you be a Catholic? Because God says you pray to Him, you confess your sins to Him. You don't pray to Mary. You don't confess your sins to priest in a wooden box with some weird screen on it, like the priest doesn't know who you are. Give me a freaking break, man. It's so disgusting. I mean, that's just the beginning. The whole thing about priests not being to Mary, I was like, wait a minute. There is no Christian religion or like Methodist, Baptist, there's no other Christian denomination, I guess I could say, that is against marriage. That's why the Catholic Church is not Christian. It's pagan. The Catholic Church does not need to claim Christianity. The only reason they do because they use the word God and they say Jesus. But that's it. That's the only thing Christian about the Catholic Church. And the only reason they made a rule, it wasn't a rule always that priests couldn't marry, but it happened a long time ago. I'm not sure what year. I need to look it up. But the Pope basically made a rule where priests couldn't get married because they found out all these cardinals and higher up people when they died, they'd leave their money, all their riches, and because they stole from people. They had these things called indulgences where you literally told the priest or whoever it was what sin you were going to do, and you would pay a certain amount of money, and it would supposedly forget. You pay the money, and they give you a piece of paper, and they said that it's called indulgences. Go look it up. I want everybody to fact check everything I say, because when you do that, you'll find out even more. I mean, that's disgusting, dude. You're forgiven by asking Jesus to forgive you, and you're forgiven when you believe in Jesus, past, present, future. So you know, it's just insane, man. And what I was saying about the priests, they were finding out how much money families were getting from these cardinals, and not just the priests, but the higher. And so the priests made a rule out of nowhere: you couldn't get married. Where's that in the Bible? God says, "Go forth and multiply." God wants people to get married. I mean, but Paul says in the Bible, but it's also good if you don't marry, because you can be closer and spend more time with God. I mean, and raising your kids and all, then you get caught up in the world, going to their sports games, and you just get so much coming at you. Some people don't take the time to read the Bible and grow as a Christian. So you have a lot of Christians out there that are miserable because they don't know the Word of God and all the promises that He says. That's the main thing that I've grown the last 5 years. I started actually reading the Bible. The number one thing you should do, I didn't do for 30 years. I mean, I knew the Bible good. We had Bible classes at my Christian school. We'd have to memorize maybe a verse a week or something, and we had little quizzes. But it wasn't anything crazy. But they just wanted us to know. They wanted us to know the basics of the Bible, how to be saved. But we didn't go into deep discussions, about. But I knew enough. I got saved. Like when I was 13 at church camp, and it was a feeling. It's the most amazing, loving, warm, supernatural feeling I've ever had in my life. And I'm not one of those people that are all like, I'm not swayed by atmosphere and emotions. Like, yeah, music can make you cry. Yeah, I've heard songs that are so Christian songs, and some other songs that are really sad. But like, it's not like I was just sitting there talking. It wasn't like that. I wasn't, because somebody said that. Oh, they said this is what they said to me. Well, the church make it like that, where with the beautiful music atmosphere. I was like, no, stop right there. You don't know what you're talking about. I was sitting in in the little cabins that we had at church camp, and we were all sitting around the big room that they had, and we were sitting on the floor talking around, joking around, and all of a sudden it just hit me out of nowhere. I wasn't even talking about God. There was no music playing, and we were just all kind of joking around and stuff. And then I don't know what happened. All I remember is that all of a sudden it just hit. It's like you need to come and get saved right now. That's it, and that's what it was. It was like I had to. It was like not had to, like I was being forced. It's like Jesus was basically saying, now it's time. You've believed in God, and because I've believed in God and Jesus all my life since I was 3 or 4 years old. Because what they taught me in school, I saw it in the world. It lined up with everything. It wasn't blind faith. I've never had blind faith. That whole blind faith thing is a load of crap. There's more proof that Jesus existed. We have 25,000 documents just about Jesus' life that are written down, more than any other historical figure combined. We have way more proof that Jesus existed and is God than we have of George Washington even existed. But people don't know that. They don't teach all that at school. They don't even teach all about Hitler. I watched a thing on YouTube the other day. A guy was going around asking people in the street, interviewing people, and these people were in their 30s, 40s, some in their 20s. They didn't even know who Adolf Hitler was. And then one guy said wasn't he an actor? And then one stupid idiot was like, wasn't he a guy with a mustache? I mean, these people were, oh gosh, the ignorance just drives me crazy, guys. I can't. Ignorant people drive me nuts, but I have to understand that they didn't have the blessing of having Christian parents, a truly biblical Christian school. Some of them went to Catholic school, and those are the people that hate God or disbelieve in God the most. The people that went to Catholic schools, because Catholic schools are, from things I've heard, are basically like torture camps. They torture you. They don't act the nuns and all. There's some good nuns and stuff. There's a story about a nun that had to escape from the Vatican. Like she had to climb over a wall. They were like, she said they were doing all these satanic cults and satanic rituals in the Vatican and stuff. It was Tori. Oh, what's her name? It's real. Her name's it's like Tori Ten Boom or something like that. But I can't remember. But this was like in the 80s or 70s. She did an interview, and she was older that time, about 70. She told a whole story about like how they used to like chain their fingers up and like hang them on walls, and they had to put all their weight on their. It was, man. They had to like sleep in coffins, and they did all these weird rituals. Like that's what the Catholic Church does. That's what it was founded on. Constantine, or no, not Constantine. Oh my gosh. I always get Constantine and this other guy confused. But anyway, he was a Christian, but he wanted people that were non-Christian, basically pagans. He tried to find a way. He wanted to get them in church because he thought, oh well, if I let them bring some of their, rituals, like with the incense and and all the gold and gawky stuff and all the fancy clothes that Catholics wear, all that is totally unbiblical, dude. God's told you know how much money Vatican has enough money, they think, to feed the whole world if they want to. They have the most money of anybody in the world, the Vatican, and they hoard it. They hoard it. They've got some of the most secretive stuff about the world, they've got fossils and things that nobody has ever seen, and it's a travesty. Actually, they should be invaded by some, I don't know, somebody, and all that stuff should be revealed. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, because I care. I have a belief system. I have a way of looking at life. I have a biblical worldview. Basically, when I look at stuff, I judge it by what God says. I mean, when I'm watching a video about the F-14 Tomcat from the jet from Top Gun. I mean, when I watch that, I'm listening to them and stuff, but I'm just watching. I mean, I can just watch or play games. I'm not, being a Christian doesn't mean you're some weird crazy person. I mean, it's so stupid what people think about Christianity. It just drives me nuts. And mostly, I'm mad. It makes me mad at the media. All the media is trash. Fox is the only one that's kind of good, but they just repeat the same. Like Fox, it's just they just rotate stuff. It's like they talk about the same stuff over and over and over. My dad always watches the news, and I'm like, why do you watch this stuff? I literally 2 hours ago was in here, and they were talking about the exact same thing. But Fox is the most, out of all the mainstream, Fox is the most reliable. They don't cover up Christian stuff. They don't cover up God. They let people talk about God. No other channel does. Like CNN has cut people off when they started talking about Jesus, like athletes. You gotta ask yourself, why do they do that? Why do they not want people to know? That's what you gotta ask yourself, people. Why doesn't schools want, like, the answers in Genesis? They actually offer homeschool classes for science, geology, astronomy, all these different classes they offer. Even forensic science, they offer accredited college and high school for homeschoolers, so they can go to college and get these. And they offer classes too, and anybody can take them. Even I could take them, but you can take them online. And you get accredited courses for homeschoolers. So if y'all know anybody that are Christians and they do homeschooling, the people answering Genesis are the people who built the life-size ark, the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. But they even have classes on the premises there where they just built this big building that has like 20 labs, and they do forensic science. They have scientists that have every letter behind their name, masters, PhDs, whatever, all the things. So it's a total lie from hell. If you hear anybody say Christians don't believe in science, that's complete lunacy. That's a complete lie that they've been hurt. That's what drives me crazy, is when I know somebody is just repeating regurgitating what maybe a professor told them, or their parents, atheist parents, or somebody else. But that's the world we live in. God says in the end times it will be very hard. And if you don't, God says it. Jesus said it. If you don't stay close to me, you're going to be fearful. You're going to be anxious. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to be depressed. Even if you're a Christian, if you don't know what the Bible says, and you don't know all the comfort that I will give you during these times, it's like I'm never scared. Right now I have a spot on my stomach right now. It might be skin cancer. I mean, but I can't do nothing about it. And if I do die, so what? I'm going to heaven. The only reason I don't want to die because my parents already lost a child, my 2-year-old sister, 5 years before I was born. That's what scared. That's what hurts me the most. I don't want them to have to lose another child. My dad's 81, my mom's 78. That's why I'm praying Jesus comes back soon, because I would love to be able to go. I mean, I would give up every single thing I own, all this stuff. All it is stuff. If my parents could still be here when the rapture happens. But I don't know. I mean, my dad's almost died. You know, I literally thought he was. But I got a call from my mom. She was crying and said, "You need to get up here now. It's your dad." And I kept asking, "Is he gone? Is he in?" And she wouldn't answer me. And I just cried out to Jesus. I was on my face, like literally I was laying prostrate, like hands and on my face, which I've only done twice in my life. And I got to the hospital, and they had got him back, and God totally brought him back, and now he has a pacemaker. So there you go. But now he had a colonoscopy, and they found possible cancer cells, and so now I've never seen so much cancer, or I've never heard about so many people getting cancer in my life. I've had friends in my high school that I graduated with that had died, good friends. I've had people that were younger. I mean, y'all don't understand these people that do you know that most of our food that we buy is illegal in other countries because of all the nasty and dangerous and awful stuff that's put in it? Like if you eat Debbie food stuff, like Debbie food cakes and all that, you're basically poisoning yourself. They found cancer-causing stuff in those things. That's why other people can't get Twinkies. And I tell these people, these European people that react to like food videos, and they all want to taste these foods, and they all want to live here. I'm like, no, you don't. This stuff is poison. This is why cancer and all this other stuff has gotten so big, because they genetically modified all our food. They are putting stuff in food that I think kills people slowly, and that's what's going on. I mean, the evidence is in how different things were. Like now they're saying lard. They used to say lard was the worst thing for you. Now my grandma cooked with lard her whole life. She lived to be 90 something. It's the same thing with all my grandparents lived over there except my grandpa. He had black lung from working in the factory, and he's the one that went. He was in Normandy, but he was the only grandfather or grandparent that didn't live to be at least 80. And they were eating lard, bacon, all kind of stuff. But what's killing people are stuff like cereal, these Debbie food cakes with anything with high fructose corn syrup. Guys, you can make a choice. Because listen, I know how it feels. I have a pancreatic birth defect. It's a birth defect, so I can't fix it. God can heal it, but I can't fix it. But I've realized by me I can't eat certain things now because of that, and I feel better in certain ways because I don't eat that stuff anymore. I'm telling you, man, I used to eat like the Swiss cake rolls and Twinkies and all that kind of stuff. Like not a lot. I'm more of a savory person. I don't have like a big sweet tooth. Like every now and then, like now, I'll get a craving for like chocolate, and I'll eat a little piece and I'm done. Just crazy. Alright, I'm gonna play a little bit. I just wanted to watch that first part because that's my favorite jet, the F-14 Tomcat. I love it. I don't care. I like it because of the looks, basically. It's not my favorite. The F-22, I like it. The looks, I still like. But if I had to be in a fighter jet for my, to protect my life and country or whatever, I'd want to be in the F-22 or F-35. I'm not sure. I'm like on the border, literally. I can't. I don't know. I don't know.
Probably
I
also
honestly don't.
one of the more dangerous flights we ever did. I was as a young, I think I was a Lieutenant JG flying the Tomcat, and we were flying with Bad Bob on a Wildcat. I don't know what, but we were in a dive. And, hey, let's sweep our wings back to get a good shot.
Bad Bob.
And pretty much departed the airplane. I think it looked good on film because it looked like I was rolling away, but in actuality, I fully departed the aircraft.
What?
His Air Force brat,
I have no idea what he was just talking about.
flying fighters in Vietnam.
Ooh.
He flew the legendary F-105 Thud. So there's no doubt in my mind that when it came time, I was going to be flying some fighter of some kind.
I remember one night, and we were living in Japan in 1966, and he came running up to tell me, he says, Dad's been shot down. And I wasn't even sure I knew what that meant at that point as 5 years old, but he got picked up over land by the Navy, and so we, as paying the debt, the most expensive debt for our father, had both joined the Navy to fly, and then we both wanted to fly F-14.
The deal was cemented when I was in college because I went to spring break, went to see Dad. Sure enough, Dad goes, "Hey, have you seen the new movie Final Countdown?" And I said, "Nah, I haven't seen it." He goes, "All right, you gotta go check it out." So we checked it out, and man, when I saw the Tomcat, the wing sweep back and go shooting down 2 zeros, it cemented the deal. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be flying that airplane off the Nimitz." And believe it or not, years later, I found myself in that airplane being shot off the deck of the USS Nimitz.
Not only did we both get the opportunity to fly a Tomcat, but we actually got to fly in the same aircraft together on a number of occasions. And it's typically not done in the military. And the Sullivan brothers that were all killed during World War II because they were attached to the same ship. So they kind of frown on it, but they had a waiver for us to fly together on a couple of occasions, you know. And I remember people it's weird, wasn't flying with your brother. And I remember in anticipation, we thought it was going to be strange, but as soon as we got in the airplane, brought the canopy down, started the engines up, it was just like you're flying with anybody else.
And then I just remember saying, "You believe they're paying us to do this?"
I've heard a lot of people talk about why they got into naval aviation. Probably not too different from many. I was the son of a naval aviator, fighter pilot during World War II, and I grew up in his shadow. Had 4 kills during World War II. Flew off Guadalcanal with the first Navy group that had flown off there, Fighting 5, and had 3 kills off Guadalcanal, 1 off the Saratoga, and he himself was shot down off Guadalcanal. Was able to dead stick it in, and so as a little kid, I grew up reading his logbooks, seeing the green ink in the old logbooks, and I knew really early on that was something I really wanted to do. So I might have been 8 years old, 9 years old, and I thought, I want to get into naval aviation, and particularly fighters.
I don't know what to upgrade.
I had the great fortune of going through flight training in the 1983-84 time frame, and the Tomcat was the premier fighter at the time, and that is all I wanted to do. And oh my God, you would work harder than anybody else. You would fight harder than anybody else just to get that opportunity to get selected to the jets and then fight your way into the Tomcat.
I grew up around naval aviation. My father, Bud Flagg, was a 2-star Rear Admiral Naval Reserve, an F-8 high time Crusader pilot. So I naturally followed him to be an F-14 pilot on the West Coast. Sadly, on September 11th, 2001, my mother and father died aboard American Airlines Flight 77 when it was commandeered by terrorists and crashed into the Pentagon.
That's crazy.
9/11 marked the beginning of what would become the longest war in U.S. history. The war on terror in Afghanistan.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the
Oh, shut the heck up, George Bush Jr. Piece of crap. Yeah, he's another one he was involved. He was a part of the Skull and Bones at Harvard. He's another president that the words New World Order came out their mouth on video. His father, same thing. Bunch of crooks, man. Whole Bush family. It's so sad too because I hate it. I thought he was legit. Yeah.
That were added to the Tomcat.
Did you turn the air down?
Just the 72.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't know because I came back here and I thought, I'm going to this lot full. I'm sorry.
Lantern fluke pod, which was an excellent pod that allowed us to go ground delivery and carry. We even able to carry JDAM, but we mostly precision guided bombs.
Anyway, just checking basement to see.
Watching a bunch of videos on guys who flew the jet from Top Gun, the F-14, the one that had the wings come out. It's like a 2-hour documentary. It's called Tomcat Tales, and these are guys that one of the guys he played an extra in the movie because they use actual real pilot in the first one, Top Gun, and he said all the actors like looked up to them. They were like the actors wouldn't leave; they would stay around and talk to the guy because they were so interested in it. They said usually the actors people go up to the actors wanting to be around them, but the actors wanted to be around them. Well, the guy Hugh Jackman played Wolverine. There's a video of him riding in a jet. And he recorded it. The guy from 300 also. There's the video of him taking a ride with the Blue Angels, and so and they're all like they act totally normal. They look up. They're like in awe of the fighter pilots. They don't. You can't even tell they're actors. I guess 'cause it's almost like they're more humble. But it's real interesting. Like guy from 300. I think it was either Hugh Jackman. I can't remember which one it was. Said it was the greatest thing he ever did, or he's ever done.
How about the guy, the actor that went up in that ship and came back down? He was gonna kiss the ground when he got back. He said it's the most holy experience he had ever had because he saw Earth. You know what he saw?
I don't know. That might have been one of them.
Outer space.
Oh, that was a guy went out space. That was what's his name played Captain Kirk.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he explained that. Really.
Well, yeah, that's a big that's even a bigger thing because you see the world from out in space. That's a whole different experience.
What's that saying that people have said? I touched the face of God, or
I know what you're talking about.
But he really. He just said he just changed his
bags that have like a dry powder that when you have to relieve yourself, it turns into kind of jelly.
Okay.
So it doesn't go flying all over the place, and it seals up. And Big Don had this habit of doing that every time we went flying. Whether he drink a lot of water, stay hydrated. So the first thing on the cat usually as we're heading up to the tank was I'm going to go ahead and relieve myself. So he already done that. I think he even done it twice on this particular mission.
Usually right on join up and then right at tanking, like during the tanking evolution.
So now we get back to our mission where he goes negative G forward and left.
So then everything's floating up in the cockpit. I see binoculars kind of flying next to me and everything. And then all of a sudden we stabilize and I think it was roughly a 45-degree dive. And all of a sudden I feel it's like a warm compress on my neck. So the Fitzbag is floating around. One of them had just like landed right on as we're doing our target run. Stabilize, think, wow, that's interesting. And then time to release, 1, 0, release. And luckily that was in high order. And the entire convoy was stopped. And the special forces okay. So that's definitely without a doubt my most memorable
for a variety of reasons. Well, we were able to drop all of our bombs. We actually only had a 2-plane on that one, and what we had to do pretty much was while one was tanking, we would be doing our work, and so we were the first ones to drop, while the other guys were going ahead and top off. By the time they came back, we dropped all of our bombs, and all we had at that point was bullets, which don't typically get used a whole lot. There was no air-to-air threat, so at this point, that's the only thing we have, and this convoy was a really, ragtag. There were a lot of civilian-type vehicles that were militarized. You've seen the
pictures of that. We called them clown trucks. They were Toyota 4Runners. But in this 40 vehicle train, if you would, there was a tank, an actual military tank that was chugging along, and I remember all the dust coming from that thing. Well, when things started happening, you can imagine everything kind of dispersed. Well, that tank tried to sneak off, and it, of course, wasn't going really fast. This is the one time that we thought, this is the time to use the bullets if we can. So we chased him down, went down a little bit lower than we might have, should have, but at this point, there was really minimal surface to air threat for us. So he got his dream of actually strafing a tank, a live tank, and not sure if he saw anything come up as far as direct hits, but it stopped.
Right. Yeah. We stopped the tank with the Mike rolled in. So that was.
At that point, we have no bullets, and we go get some gas. Our other aircraft that come back, and he's doing great work. Again, both aircraft were clear, capable, and what was great was the AWACS was just sending Hornets and from the both aircraft carriers that were there, and so all these Hornets were showing up, and they had the Nighthawk pod, which they didn't quite have the resolution lantern pod, and the beauty was we were overhead, and we had the targets, and we ended up lasing where we were lasing from our aircraft. We had the code for the bombs, put the code in, and we'd laze. They'd actually drop their bombs, and we would laze for them, buddy lasing. We did that a number of times. So while we only dropped 4 bombs that day, we actually facilitated the drop of, I don't know, it's a lot. We made it half time. 8.5 hours after we took off, and it felt like we were going 30 minutes. That was an exciting mission. It was a really good mission.
The mighty Tomcat, the F-14D, was an amazing aircraft. It's unfortunate we didn't build more of them. They finally put everything together in one aircraft, and it not only did it have great engines and great avionics and a fantastic radar, it also added something called Link 16, which is a data link. Data link was able to allow us to see like our competitor 1,000 miles away. The one thing we were missing, though, was the ability to drop GPS-guided weapons. You needed to have that precision for a variety of reasons. One, you have to make sure you hit what you're aiming for. But secondly, for all the political reasons, we only wanted to put our weapons where we were supposed to be putting them. So for those reasons, we knew going into potentially this big build-up for the beginning of Operation Rapid Freedom, if we didn't get GPS capability, we weren't going to play. We would do some work that would be later on. The folks at NAVI tested it quickly, gave us the capability literally weeks prior to the kickoff of OAF to drop JDM. I had never dropped a JDM ever. The first time I did was that first night of combat. It was crazy. At that time, Captain Mark Fox, who was a MiG killer, was our CAG. He put together a team to lead the very first strike of non-stealth aircraft into Baghdad, and we were told to go after some very difficult targets. So the element that I led was ended up being the first non-stealth aircraft to enter the Baghdad missile engagement zone on that very first night of OAF. You all probably know that as shock and awe was the expression that was used at the beginning of that evening's event. Nothing goes as planned, and myself, we were in 2 strike Tomcats and 2 Hornets. We were being protected by 2 Prowler aircraft. We had 4 Air Force F-16 CJ protecting us into that same ring. And we also had 4 arm shooters off of our F-18s off of our carrier. All that was put in play and in motion for us to be able to penetrate. They called it the Baghdad Super MEZ. MEZ is an acronym for Missile Engagement Zone. So what happened is as we take off, everything's going to plan except the tankers started to break down. And so what happened is for our strike is we started losing some of those critical assets. We lost several of our arm shooters, and there had to be flex that happened during the time we were headed to the target. Side C, if you can imagine over Baghdad, you can see the city lights, and as we were headed in, the Tomahawk missiles were exploding. So as we're middle of the night, coming in, seeing all these explosions going off, talking on the radios, and then all of our command and control folks, the Air Force, and the E2s got saturated because there's a lot of activity. And as that's happening, the Tomahawks and surface air missiles in the AAA came up. So as we're getting within about 40 to 50 miles of we start seeing the SAM launches. We know that we're the very first ones in the MES from the south, the super MES. At the same time, B2s come observe, and they're coming at an opposite altitude, similar strikes to us, 180 out. So because of the process in place, so we delayed, and at a certain point, I was to get the camera. We decided to go in, and it was quite a fireworks display. The SAMs were not guided at all, which is fortunate for us. We didn't lose any aircraft, but it was basically pretty and I remember at the time, okay, blown over Iraq lots of times. I've seen a lot of AAA go off. I'd seen some SAMs, but I'd never seen any onslaught in the barrage. We were successful. We dropped our weapons. My pilot, Webster Frankenberger, phenomenal guy. He's an extremely talented fighter pilot, and we came back on track. And I was proud to be able to do what I've been training to do for 18 years. Let's get started.
I hate these quotes.
And as beautiful and combat effective as the Tomcat was, she was also very unforgiving, especially at the boat.
It was difficult to bring aboard the boat. It looked good, but it was easy to bring aboard the boat and it looked bad. So you could get aboard very easily with it safely, but it was a handful.
So the one thing I didn't love about the Tomcat was the difficulty coming aboard the carrier. But again, you always knew you were alive when you were flying a Tomcat.
The fact that it was like flying a high school gymnasium half full of water behind the ship. It was a hard airplane to learn how to fly well behind the ship. And then, of course, the famed TF-30 engines that were only supposed to be in them for a couple of years and ended up being in them for most of the, well, certainly all of the A's life cycle, which was upwards of 20-something years.
Anyone that tells you they haven't been scared getting the airplane aboard at night, I would say they're either lying to you or they're not really bright.
I loved day carrier landings. Once you got good at them, it was a challenge. You had to be in touch with the airplane. So it was a challenge to land well in the F-14. I didn't like landing at night, but I'm probably not alone in that.
LSO's primary responsibility is an individual that gives up part of his day instead of flying to sit out there on the end of the carrier and provide that safety valve to the naval aviators that are landing their mighty warships. I had a lot of respect for the Tomcat. It was a very challenging airplane, very powerful airplane, but you had to stay on top of it. At that time, I was flying A model when I did my cross training flying the TF-30, and it was one of those airplanes that you really had to respect. You had to maintain the energy. When the airplane would get underpowered, it would pick up rates of descent that, frankly, if you didn't arrest it quickly, it was unrecoverable. One of the big things as a LSO is that we monitored was meatball lineup angle of attack. Meatball is the glide slope, angle of attack is the airspeed of the airplane, and lineup was keeping the airplane on center line. Tomcat is a large wingspan. I think second to the Tomcat in wingspan was the E2. So it was critical to keep that aircraft on center line. Generally plus or minus 3 feet to make sure safety margins were maintained. It was some years later when I had an opportunity to fly in fact, was qualified as an F-18 at the time. I joined the airplane. It was a squadron LSO, and we had a turnover of the senior LSO, the CAG paddles, and it's the carrier group paddles. And I was asked if I'd step up and assume senior responsibility. The deck was moving around a little bit, and that kind of gets in a pilot's head. And we had a few pilots that had some challenges, and one of them was Lieutenant Maclaire, a planet, and I recall him having just a horrendous day. Landed not well short. Did get his hook across the ramp, but he was a taxi one wire, and there was considerations not to.
Repeat emergency transmission. This is Amanda Holiday. My ship was disabled during combat and I was forced down into EDC. While I was waiting for evac, I saw a Shadow Legion patrol leading a group of captives to a pyramid. I'm sneaking into the facility with the prisoners. I'll bring my comms along as a unit. Whoever hears this, tell the Guardian to gear up and follow my signal. I'll be waiting. Repeat emergency transmission.
Not realize that you need to make this partnership between me and the pilot to keep this
Amanda Holiday, does anyone read me?
There she is. I'm so glad to hear your voice.
Hey, Deborah. Good to hear you too. I was starting to worry I'd snuck in here for nothing.
Quite clever of you. A bit risky though. Can't say I condone it.
Risky? Ain't you the fella that once ran a cabal blockade just for fresh eggs?
Guilty as charged. Just hold tight, my dear. Reinforcements are on their way. Where in the facility are you, Amanda?
I'm in the cell block with the prisoners. Guardian to follow my comm signal right to us.
She's a bit of a rough walk at the moment, but being honest, you're on route.
Good thing about the cold heart, the longer you keep it on the enemy, the more damage goes up. It's pretty cool. Kind of like target lock. That's why it's really good for like fighting bosses and stuff. It's probably the best trace rifle overall, as far as damage goes. Shoot, man.
We will breach the pyramid not through its walls, but through the very fabric of reality. Harness my power and enter the ascendant plane.
I must admit, I had several good ideas with this jailbreak, but traversing an alternate reality was not among them.
Guardians doing what now? I swear, the longer I know y'all, the stranger things get.
Stranger still, now that the witness has arrived.
It was just
security chasing their tails. Looks like they're deploying some heavy firepower to stop you, though.
There's something up ahead. It's bringing back a memory, or Aldrin's memory, I guess. A familiar voice. Be careful,
Then
Guardian.
explain the ejection process. Being born and having to eject from your aircraft, somewhat similar experience. Of course,
Spanish
the nice,
they are but empty shells filled with the desires of the great
cold, noisy, and unknown place.
and they cannot
Of course,
stop.
it's going to be unpleasant. Fortunately, Tomcat experience every birth around the clock.
13th of April, 1986.
It's that ignition, dude. Oh my exotic class item. Melee's calls ignition, so if I throw a dart, they're done. See? You got boom! Okay.
The walls of the prison may be impenetrable, but the walls between worlds are not.
You never did have much respect for boundaries, did you?
We weren't decelerating anymore. So I thought I could stop the airplane, because like I said, we got a decent tug on the wire. So I jammed on the brakes, pulled the compass back to idle, but I saw the deck edge lights coming up, which marked the end of the inflow deck. That's all you can see at night. And
I see you on my radar, Guardian. The prison cell seems to be just ahead. Head guards are really easy work, though, so watch yourself.
Yeah, come on, dude.
ship's nearby, but she took a beating. I could use your help getting her out of here.
Tomcat flight was the one where we ended up in the landfill. I just finished that Top Gun ground school, hadn't flown for a couple of weeks. It was at night. They're right there at Miramar. And we take off, turn right into the pattern, and we just do an FCL piece field carry land practice. So on the first pass, a little high overshooting start, add power, turn back onto the center line, and look down, I get a flash of a left fire light. Look down, come up on power on both engines, flick, 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 left fire light comes on. We're doing 140 knots, 400 feet AGL, everything looks good, so we just start clear through the procedure. Left throttle idle, turn the air source off, 130, 120, stage afterburn on the right engine. Plane yaws just like you'd expect, over a little bit to the left, and add a little bit of right rudder, and 110, 100, I call to eject, and Bosco pulled the handle. Airplane rolls off, we're 45 to 60 feet from the left-hand bank, so Bosco goes out and up, I go out and down. Bosco thinks he's dead twice, because as he goes up, he doesn't get a chute, because it's not until he starts coming down does he have opening shock. So he opens up, then he looks down and says, oh crap, I'm gonna land in the fireball. So he reaches up, tries to pull the core line release, and land very close to the fireball, the wreckage there, and done. So the time from the canopy going to the time that the seat-man separation, I know I blacked out, and it was like the hand of God on you as the crushing, G-forces of the ejection seat. My chute opens up sideways, I go down, and I see the ground. It was at night. I see the ground because airplane hits and explodes, and then I hit the ground. As he hits the ground, we were standing there together. The next day, I was at the squadron. We get there at 7 o'clock in the morning. There's
I'm about to get, as soon as I do this, I'm going to play one more game of the tank thing, and then I'm going to, well, I don't know, I need to get on Neverwinter, get my daily key and my daily chest. See, that's one thing about the F-14 Tomcats. They were very hard. They're hard to handle, and they were very hard to land on aircraft carriers. That's what they're talking about now.
It's like, wow, that's weird. Case 3. Oh yeah, okay, I guess it's gonna be case 3. Just then, if you remember the stall logic, I think it's like dividing by 0 with TIT. So the thing is going off. To the pilot. I go, hey, how's the engine? It's stalled. It's stalled. It's like, well, it's stalled. Shut it off. So he shuts it off. Actually, the stall logic is weird. So we come in, and now it's single engine, all these checklists, you go back, combines holding, you go back, flipping around with PCL like that. Coming in, shooting our approach. I looked up, I'm going through the things, and I looked down, and we're about 800 feet with about 500 PSI going straight downhill. I'm like, pull up, go to mill. And he goes, I am. I go to burner. So we climbed out, almost flew in the water, 15 miles per hour boat. Come in, I think Brutus was the rep. Comes up, hey, you tried relighting it? I'm like, capital idea, let's try that. Started up, that's still stalled. We come in, 2-degree glide slope, high as a kite, single engine bolter, and I was like, this isn't going to be good. We made it, came around, trapped the second time. Our wingman goes, hey, what were you doing when you landed? You looked really worried. I said, well, I didn't want to screw up my back, so I keep the angle like this. That's, fortunately, didn't have to punch out, never did.
Tomcat crews, it wasn't the enemy. We're landing 23-ton metal aboard a floating runway trying to kill you. You could always count on the weather to make it even more
Oh Lord, chat. Yeah, the weather. I can't imagine landing that. Because like you gotta understand, those aircraft carriers are so big. I mean, my ship was 270-foot ship. Like these things are big as these things are like 3 football fields, 4 football fields long. That's 100 yards, 300 feet. So they're like 4 times longer than the ship I was on. I was on a 270-foot cutter, and so when a ship's that big and it's in the ocean, when it lifts up, it's lifting up. It's not, a smaller ship might lift up 10 feet at the, or you know what I'm saying. But the bigger the ship, the more it's going to lift up because it's bigger. So that means these guys, when they're trying to land on these aircraft carriers, they're trying to land on rough seas when the boat, they don't know what it's going to do. It could do like this and go up and down. It's basically like landing on something doing this. Imagine that in a jet. And that's what I mean. That's what, if it's smooth seas, it's fine. But I'm talking about like when the seas are rough. I mean, it might go 30 feet up above, and by the time you get to it, it might be 30 foot down. Like in a second, it's crazy. Like these guys are like unbelievable. They can even land on that. Not me.
So, sure enough, they attach this to the cat, and the whole time Rico and I are going, this is not really happening.
Right. When they ran up with the wakeboard, I went, uh-oh.
So, we're going flying.
Right. So this is going to be a good sea story, but it turned out to be a great sea story.
Well, yeah. So, off the cat stroke, something on the LOX bottle disconnected, so suddenly I'm sucking no air. So, after I get the gear up, the mask comes off. So that's maybe the first indicator that this might not be a normal flight.
Right. And then they vectored us out to do just a quick AIC hop. You haven't had a night trap in at least. That was your night to get back and forth.
So here it is. We are getting thrown around pretty good.
I already have one with chain reaction. Believe me, it's good. It's the only shotgun with chain reaction.
Throughout this embedded thunderstorm that we're flying through.
A transaction to make, Guardian.
And almost by the time we get to the outer station, they said, "Come on back." Now we have to dump 6,000-7,000 pounds of gas. And the whole time I'm dumping, I'm going, I don't know if I should really be doing this. Although we have to get down to max trap weight, so I have to do it. But something, all the little hairs are going, you might not be wanting to dump as much as you have to. But anyway.
The thing I remember is you going, you know what, I think I got vertigo. And I'm thinking as a Rio going, oh, I don't want to hear this.
I do remember, though, having flown through bad weather before, that was the most violent weather that we came through. Literally just getting thrashed about.
But they vectored us right in on final.
Flying the needles, on and on, looking good. We break out, and I look up, and I don't see him. And I call Clara. Back on the needles, working hard, on and on. Look out again.
You'll return
don't see the ship.
honors, Guardian.
But you look good, keep it coming. And something out of the corner of my eye, I turn, and the ship's over there, and we're pointed that way. So I knew the winds were pretty much out of limits, but I go ahead and make the play and make LSOs see that and go, get out of here. So we wave it off and tell us go 1,500 feet. We're holding.
One of our brightest returns.
And there the Odyssey almost ends.
Right.
Because now it's a matter of patience, which we were eventually going to lose a little bit of.
Right.
But we sit there and wait as they get the plan together to now launch tankers to take everybody else.
This is why I don't like popping those things. I'd rather keep them and fuse them in this, or I'd rather use them on stuff like this, or even these.
Because the low fuel lights are coming on.
I want to say we got down to 2,000 pounds.
Get this until you get it with bolt shot. Amazing.
At nighttime, so we get down around 2,000 pounds, and Timmy Schaefer is in an S3.
Still got to get a good pallet weight.
I got 1,000 pounds to give. I just got done tanking somebody.
What pallet's rolling?
Rico is on it like on rice. He goes, "We'll take it. Where you at?" So we go ahead and join up on shaft.
Yeah, I got this. I got an okay roll. I don't need a Lotus Eater. I got repulsory brace, destabilizing. Paladrone. That's right, Paladrone was Arc. I don't know why I was thinking it was Void. Why was I thinking it was Void?
There's the tanker. We go ahead. He brings the shootout, and we plug him. It's pretty much in that cloud was just the most challenging tanking I've ever done, because it's nighttime. You're in and out of clouds and out of lightning all over the place. And
you plugged first time. It was good.
It was good, but it was not your standard hit it and see a little recoil. It was just put it in there. And he goes, "I don't show you in the bathroom." Okay, so we pull out. Plug them again.
Low fuel lights are coming on again.
Yep. Because this is taking some time. He goes, "No, I don't see in the basket." I'm like, "Hey, okay, unplug." And this time it's cannonball.
Major, hit that thing as hard as you can and push it all the way up in there.
Boom. Hit it, and that sine wave on the hose. I was hoping that it wasn't, when it came back, it wasn't going to rip our probe off, which has happened
question. We are in the basket.
No flow.
Yeah, he goes, sour tanker.
So I said, recycle one more time, and he put the basket in and let it go, and the whole thing came out and went through the ocean. So at that point, it was like, these things don't happen to me. These things happen to
other people.
That's what I was thinking.
Right. We realize now that we're not going to get gas from this guy. What popped into my head was the fact that due to weather avoidance, the A6 tanker pilot had gone wings level. So now we are 30 miles away from the ship versus doing the standard cruising around on top of Mother. So you know she's right there, 30 miles away. So I look down and go, okay, great. And I look over to the gas.
Eververse
We're
trades
0.8,
includes
1.7.
enhance the Guardian's journey.
Okay. This is not going to help the situation. So we turn. Now the big cell is between us and the ship. So we have to go around that cell. And just about that time, CAG comes up and goes, we're going to have to barricade you. And disbelief. I was like, are you kidding me?
Me too.
Barricade? That's, do they think we can't get aboard? Well, I mean, what's going on? And he explains, hey, you hit the magic number, we got to do it.
Isn't just a title.
Okay, so they start doing the briefing us on what we're going to do.
I remember we're supposed to jettison our tanks and all our ordnance, and I said, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I know my pilot.
Absolutely. So we're getting the brief from CAG Paddles. Steve, call sign Steve.
Go ahead and get 360 in.
Coming in, we're probably around 2 miles, maybe 2.5. Why don't you use the 360?
Rig the barricade upside down. We needed to re-rig the barricade.
We did not realize that at the time, but we're like, okay, so here it is. We go through, do our 360, and we're now getting into around 2 miles. Hey, Major, why did you just give us one more 360?
Right. And that's when Tom came up and said, you got to take this now.
Yeah, you got to take me now.
And at that point, I went, wow, this is an emergency.
And this is, as we're halfway through the second 360, CAG comes up and goes, serious fuel state. And I knew at this point, just because Rico had been as cool as the other side of the pillow the entire time. Just low key, but he comes up with 900 pounds. And you can almost hear the disgust and the, come on guys, you got to get something going here.
Just stay short. 900 pounds.
So at that point,
we just blew our own VFR pattern behind the ship.
Absolutely.
We didn't listen to anything they said.
Yeah. So it was like, hey man, take your knee board off, tighten them down, because now I looked over, the tapes are pretty low, and I remembered, what's it, like 300 or 400 pounds gauge error per side. So we're approaching where we're on fumes. And I said, hey, Ricky, since I have the mask off, dangling still, and it's distracting to talk as you're trying to fly to final. And so I just said, hey man, I'm going to fly this thing until I can't fly it anymore. If something goes on, i.e. if we're getting in close and, we flame out the motor, I'm just going to yell, eject, eject, eject. I'll continue flying it as best I can. You're going to be the one punching this thing. So at that point, I hadn't even thought about that prior to.
Right.
And it's like, it's go time now. I mean, there's no turn back. And
as you look at the flat tape, you can see when I called the ball, the stanchions are coming up, and the barricade had just gotten rigged.
It literally was coming up when we were probably at the 3/4 mile point, so 15, 20 seconds before we land. They QA'd it and said, okay, the big steel cable is not going to be at head level like it originally was. They flopped it.
Yeah, paddles contact. You're just a little low there. Here, keep working it over this center one. Okay, we got a clear deck. Belly left. Bring it left, honking that line up. Up left a little. Nice and easy. Cut.
landed the one wire, landed, and our night was over.
I think we both ducked when we went through.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was like something. It was just a reaction, you know, because suddenly you see something, and we both kind of did that. I'll never forget lunch. Our maintenance officer was the first guy to meet the jet, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have him drain the fuel and see how much flying time." Lunch, I don't want to know that. Yeah. You know, I don't want to know that at all. But then of course he comes back and goes, "Yeah, like 90 seconds of flying time left." I'm like, "Hey, I appreciate that. I thought I said I didn't want to know that."
I just remember trapping and looking up at the island, and it was just covered with people.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wanted to come out and see the Tomcat kill himself.
Yeah. So we get back to the red room and fill out the reports. So it's probably by the time the reports are done, 2 in the morning, and I look at the schedule. I'm on the first brief in like 4 hours.
All right, I'm getting off for tonight, guys. I'm gonna be on